Welcome to Face to Face. I'm Niresh Eliyatambi. Sri Lanka is a land where superstition rules. Everything from our response to COVID down to the day and the hour of every little ceremony, including elections, it's all decided by superstition. Now, in this scenario, it's very difficult to find a ground for science, where people will believe in scientific methods. So it's nice to see more and more scientists getting involved in the politics of today, because after all, the politicians have led us astray for many years. We have with us this evening Dr. Nadeeka Rathnayake. She's an environmental chemist and a geochemist as well. She is currently domiciled in Australia. Her qualifications are a PhD from Griffith University in Australia and an MSc from the Delft Institute for Water Education in the Netherlands. She was recently the coordinator for climate change and natural disaster research in the National People's Power Committee on Science and Technology Policies. Welcome, Dr. Nadeeka, to the show. So, Dr. Nadeeka, you have had a very interesting journey from Tissa Maharama in the south, where you were born, which is your hometown.
Yes.
And then you qualified at the University of Ruhuna, and then on to Australia, Netherlands, and so on. And you have worked in many countries around the world as a senior scientist. And of course, in Sri Lanka, you probably wouldn't have got much of a job with all these qualifications and experience. Hydrobiology, environmental chemistry, geochemistry, these fields are, suffice to say, not very advanced in our country. Now, let me ask you, we see a lot of scientists and university lecturers flocking towards the National People's Power, the NPP, and assisting in setting up policies. Why is this? What is different with this party and this election from the past elections and other parties?
I think from the past as well, many scientists in Sri Lanka and around the world, Sri Lankan scientists living around the world, they involved with other two parties as well to make this kind of policies and support the government to make this country developed. But the thing has happened during those governments, they didn't implement these things. They had policies, but they didn't act on this. That's why we are still here. We are still telling we are developing countries. Now our economy is totally collapsed, and if those governments act on those policies, listen to the scientists who supported them, we are not in this position. And as scientists now, as you said, the scientists, engineers, doctors, in all sort of professionals in different professions now supporting to in NPP to make policies, supporting to them to get the power, because I think now these professionals having some sort of feeling, they believe NPP will do this and NPP will act on this. As a scientist, if I have to say like why I have involved into this, because NPP invited to us to make a science and technology research and development policy, because their intention was they believed if a country can get developed, if a country can get a good economic growth, they believe the main force behind that is science and technology, because world has good example on that. Most of the countries who developed, and now we say developed countries, there are no magic. The only reason that they use science and technology research and development.
And they invest
Yes.
very heavily.
Yes.
So examples would be, I presume, the United States, Japan, China, and Europe, and so on, and also next door in India.
Yes.
So we have a lot of such examples. Now, we had in the previous government, when Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa was running for the presidency, we had something called the Viatmaga, where there was quite a large collection of private sector businessmen, professionals, and scientists as well, who gathered to support him with the same sort of belief that you have. But once Mr. Rajapaksa was elected, he seemed to handpick his own military associates or officers to head many departments in this country, and you didn't find a lot of scientists appointed to key positions. And of course, the glaring example of this failure is that he went on to practically destroy our agriculture sector by banning chemical fertilizers, which of course is the consequences are still being felt among our farming community and also among the plantations such as tea and coconuts and so on. So what is the guarantee that this would not happen under an NPP regime?
Yes, it is a good question actually. As a research and development policy action committee, we always talk about this, how we differ from Viatmaga. And the main thing we are talking, we are not politicians. We are scientists, we are doctors, we are engineers, all sort of professions who contribute to this. We are not politicians. We are here to support politicians, to show them, by creating these policies, and we are giving our knowledge and experience and showing them, if you act on this, we can make this, we can develop this country. And as you said, I agree with you, like Viatmaga was there, while they are getting power, they supported to that party. The only thing I am thinking, like, they were not responsible on that. As scientists, if you are standing somewhere, if you are supporting for something, you have to be really responsible. We are here not to get some power or some positions from the government. If NPP get elected, we are not here to go into the parliament. It is not our interest. Our interest is, you are here with the responsibility, with the power as a government. We are here supported you to get elected, and with the knowledge and experiences, we made the policies. We have the all sort of things you can implement.
Your knowledge, your experience, and the policies that you bring about. So that's very interesting. But now I believe one aspect where Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa went wrong was that he didn't listen to those who gave advice, and quite frankly, there weren't very many people who gave him good advice. In fact, a lot of bad advice seemed to have been given, such as the head of the GMOA, who's a doctor, came out and said that it's perfectly fine to ban chemical fertilizer. And what he was doing as a doctor and giving agricultural advice, nobody knows, only he knows. And why President Gotabaya listened to him, again, only the president of that time knows. So my point is, if the NPP forms a government and you as a scientist, you see that they are going astray, that their policies are, say a particular policy is not scientific and it would lead to issues and perhaps a disaster, would you stand up and oppose it?
I have to say, as personally, yes, because that is our responsibility. If we are responsible for the people in this country, yes, we are supporting to NPP because we believe now we are telling 76 years this country governed by two parties, and now we are in a big disaster. Like our economy is collapsed already. That's why we believe, we are not believing on a person, we are believing on a party with good sort of past, like they have some examples to us, like we can keep a hope and we believe like they will implement this. If they get elected after the election, we have that hope because it is not one person's show. That's what we believe. And the answer for your questions, if they didn't do that, if I stood for them for these things, I have a responsibility if they do wrong to get a stand and say, this is wrong, this is not what we said.
Well, that's very good to hear because quite frankly, we are still suffering through this disaster created by that particular president and his team. And of course, 7 million people in this country are living below the poverty line right now. One of the issues that has arisen recently is that of our ocean resources, and you are a specialist in this area. We in Sri Lanka, we are an island, but our territorial or economic zone waters extend far beyond, I believe it's something like 200 nautical miles away from Sri Lanka. So we have that much of territory in the sea, which is many times that of our landmass. But Sri Lankans have not paid much attention to our own sea, which we at Newsfirst call the Sea of Sri Lanka. Now, this area is supposed to have vast deposits of minerals and other resources, but we don't seem to have done much research on this. Why is that?
I think we have done some sort of research, especially there are some institutes like NARA, some ocean universities, some faculties in some universities like University of Ruhuna, their marine science faculty. They are doing research, And I have to say it is not enough, as you said, because nowadays world talking about blue economy. As we talked about green economy with agriculture, now we are talking about blue economy. What are the resources in the ocean we can utilize sustainably? And we need to have we need to have good research on that to discover these things, especially because of we have our continental shelf is bigger, way higher than our land. Because of that, we have good resources around the Indian Ocean, around our island. And especially I have to say we utilize fisheries resources from the ocean, but is our research on that, is that enough for that? Because from my experience, we utilize some amount of fisheries resources over there, but we are not using much science and technology on that to utilize it sustainably. And for an example, most of other countries, from my experience, I worked in Ireland for 2.5 years with the Marine Institute of Ireland. I have some experiences with research cruises. Every year they are estimating their fish population on their ocean, Atlantic Ocean, with their research cruises.
Well, that's very interesting, because I have not heard of any such research being done in Sri Lanka, and if there are institutes which are doing that research, I don't know where that research is going. Is the government aware of it? Is the public aware of it? Is the fisheries community aware of it? So there are a lot of questions.
That is a good question, because that is the question mainly came, if you remember, there was an incident, Express Pearl incident.
Disaster.
At that time, the main question came to us, where is the basic database of our oceans, water quality or other sort of things? Because NARA and other institutes do everything, they have all sort of data, I believe, I know. But we need to have a proper databases for that. If there is incident has happened, we have to have these databases to show, okay, this is the baseline we had, now you made a disaster, this is the water quality contamination you has done on our ocean, then we can claim through that, no? That is the basic step, I believe.
Right.
If there were databases, that would be really supportive to this process. That's what other countries do. They have their basic databases, they are updating it every year. As I said, the fish populations as well. They are using that knowledge, they are transferring that knowledge for their countries' economical things. They are transferring that knowledge to their fisheries departments in their countries. Okay, this is the fish population now for this year. Some kind of things. This is just for an example. If we have this really simple scientific research going on in our ocean, how much it would be supportive for our fishermen?
Absolutely, absolutely. And being an island, it's such a pity that we don't have this kind of data on hand. It should be out there on the internet, where our professionals and our fishermen and our scientists should have access to these things.
There may be data, but it should be easily accessible, no? Fishermen are not knowledgeable like professionals. There should be some countries developing some apps to find out where the good fishing grounds when they go to the ocean for the fishing. Such kind of techniques, it would be really useful the fishermen and to get good harvest.
Well, my experience with technology is that if the technology is relevant to one's profession or vocation, one will learn it because it is something advantageous. So even the fishermen who may not be well versed with technology, if you show them that this app will help you to increase your catch of fish, then certainly they would look into it and learn it.
Yes.
So we are in the midst of a very interesting conversation with Dr. Nadeeka Rathnayake, an environmentalist and a senior scientist from Australia, and we will go in for a short break and come right back. Don't go away.
World class. Amazing. Thank you.
Lanka's Got Talent.
Weekends at 8:30 p.m. on Sirasa TV.
Culture and tradition, a celebration and an offering, all for a good cause. Sirasa Namami Pinsara Samadhiya on Asala Full Moon Poya Day, live from the Kataragama Kiriwera premises, from 6 a.m. onwards on Sirasa TV. Join us, dressed in white.
සිම්පත හරියට ලියාපදිංචි කරගෙන තියෙන්න ඕන. සමහරව එහෙම දන්නෙත් නැහැනේ.
මේ සිම්පත කොයිතරම් වැදගත්ද කියලා මේ දුරකථන පාවිච්චි කරන හැම දෙනාම දන්නේ නැහැ කියලා තමයි මම කියන්නේ.
මැයි වලින් පස්සේ ලොකු ගංවතුර තත්ත්වයක් එන්න නියමිතයි කියලා. කාලගුණ විද්‍යාඥයින් අනතුරු අංගවන පසුබිමක ඔබ කොයි විදිහටද මේ අපේ තෙත්බිම් සම්බන්ධයෙන් දකින්නේ?
කොළඹ නගරයේ තියෙන නාගරික තෙත්බිම් වලින් 21%ක් තියෙන නාගරික තෙත්බිම් වලින් වැසි ජලයෙන් 39%ක් රඳවා ගන්න බව.
වෙළඳ නගරයට කටයුතු කරන කට්ටිය දැන් එනවා පරිපාලන නගරයට. ඔතන මේ දන්න හැටි අපි ගත්තොත් අලවටුකොට එහෙම නැත්නම් කිඹුලවල ප්‍රදේශයේ අපිට තියෙනවා රැයට කෑම කඩ. ඉස්සර එක තිබ්බ කොහෙද? කොළඹ. දැන් ගොඩ දෙනෙක් මේ පැත්තට එන්න පටන් ගන්නවා. මොකද ඒගොල්ලන්ට අර කොළ පාට ගතිය. මේ තියෙන බ්‍රීස් එක කියන්නේ ඇඟට දැනෙන වෙනස අනිවාර්යෙන් දැනෙනවා.
ජාතික මෙහෙවර සතියේ දිනවල උදෑසන 11ට.
දැන් ඉතින් දෙයියනේ කියලා ඔයාට ඊයරා කිව්වා අපලත් ගෙවල ඉවර වෙයි.
මට පේන හැටියට නම් මේ දැනුත් ඒ අපල ගෙවුණා වගේ.
මං ඉතින් කියන්නේ.
දැන් ඔබ ඔය හදන්නේ මාවත් අමාරුවේ දැන් අමාරුවේ වැටෙන්නනේ.
ඒක වෙන්නේ මං මාට්ටුනොත් නේ.
ඌ මුළු වැඩේටම අපෙන් ඉල්ලන්නේ එක උදව්වයි. ඒ වෙලාවට පැයකට එකමාරකට අපි ඒ ඒරියා එකේ කරන්ට් එක යවලා දෙන්න ඕනේ.
කියා දෙන්න ආදරේ තරම් අද රාත්‍රියට ඉදියට
සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන් රට තොට පිට රට වට පිට හැම දේවල් හැමදාමත් මුලින්ම කලින්ම දැනගන්න උදේ 8 සිට එක වෙනතුරු එක දිගට පුවත් පැය 5ක් ඇහැරෙන්න TV1 සමග
Newsfirst morning on TV1
ජූලි 8 සඳුදා සිට
Sujata Vidyalaya, Matara, Vidyartha College, Kandy, Idbagamu Central College, Kurnagala, educationist and author.
TB Langarat.
The answer is correct. European Ratahi Jantika Pushpe Way.
Ukrainian.
The answer is correct. Mohu Pakistani Agamathi Teri Patpia.
Shehbaz Sharif.
Correct.
Always have a dream, realistic dream. So you have to work towards that.
The journey of 1,000 miles begin with simple single step.
Brainbusters with Slits Season 4 Saturday at 6:30 p.m. on TV1.
ඔයා මොකද්ද කිව්වේ?
हम तेरे बिन अब रह नहीं सकते.
I love you.
तेरे बिना क्या
ඉම්ලෙකි තියෙන නෙගටිව් පව එක මගේ ආදරයට බාධාවක් වෙන්න බෑ.
इस कदर तू मुझे प्यार कर
කෙල්ලකුයි කොල්ලෙකු අතර සිද්ධ වෙන්න පුළුවන් හැරි බේබිගේ බබාද දන්න එන්න හදන්නේ ගුඩ් නිවුස් එකක් වෙලා.
ඉන්නේ අද රාත්‍රී 9:30ට සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්.
Welcome back to Face to Face. We are in conversation with Dr. Nadeeka Rathnayake, a senior scientist from Australia who is part of this science team, if I may call it that, of the National People's Power, the NPP. Now, Dr. Nadeeka, we were discussing the wealth in our oceans, in the Sea of Sri Lanka. And we really don't know what's at the bottom of the ocean. We were talking about fisheries, but it's more than fish, isn't it? It is minerals and metals and perhaps oil and gas and all that, which could be at the bottom of the ocean within our economic zone. But we really don't know what we have and where it is in this vast area.
Yes, that is another sector we address in our policy as well. We need to have a set of research and development for this sector because as I said already, we are talking about blue economy and ocean is full of that I have to say mineral resources, and other countries discovering these things. And recently we heard about there is a cobalt rich mineral deposit in Indian Ocean. The most of news nowadays talking about it, and is there any like ownership for the Sri Lanka on that deposit, because India is talking about to mine that deposit as well.
Well, to refresh our memories, I think let me give my little 2 cents worth of what I understand about this cobalt deposit. It's not quite clear whether it is in Sri Lanka's waters, in our Sea of Sri Lanka. That is debatable. However, we believe it is, and if it is so, then it would be certainly worth having and worth mining probably, but we don't know yet. And of course, what's the importance of cobalt? Well, it's used, I believe, in the batteries used in vehicles, in electric vehicles and other modern technology. So these are areas where science is fast evolving. So science may evolve, but the minerals, the metals, they are of vital importance. And cobalt, I believe that China has control of something like 70% of the world's cobalt. So this is a very geopolitical sort of argument going on as well. A lot of Chinese research vessels have been prowling around the Indian Ocean, as we know, and the Indian government is not very happy about it, and India is now looking at this cobalt deposit and has requested approval from the global authority to mine this cobalt. But the global authority has not yet given the approval because it may actually be within the Sea of Sri Lanka, in which case our government would need to be involved and we should also benefit from it. Now, having said that, neither India nor Sri Lanka has the capability to mine this cobalt yet, but if the cobalt deposit is large enough, certainly we should develop it, perhaps jointly or singularly, either way. But again, the question comes, we don't know. And that's because we haven't actually looked.
Yeah, that's a good question actually, because I believe as a government we need to have a vision on these things. True, we don't have research facilities, vessel facilities for discovering these things. But how other countries like us do these things? That's why that international collaborations are really important, either from China, either from India or Europe or USA. I believe for the research, there are plenty of research institutes around the world. They are really open to support these sort of things if our government has real good vision on this. Like, okay, there is ownership of this to Sri Lanka. How government act on this? It's not like selling everything to other countries or others. For the research and development as well, there should be government initiatives for this research. Collaborating with other countries, request collaborations, request from India or China, if you do this research, can we incorporate our researchers to this? How we get involved, how we get to know about these things. We are sitting here, some people, some countries doing research, and we are listening, okay, it is there. And it is not the way how government should act, I believe. We are plenty of manpower, we are plenty of good professionals within the Sri Lanka, really good pool of knowledge in every profession for this ocean sciences as well. There are mining engineers, plenty of geologists who have really good knowledge within the country. Is government using that knowledge? Yeah, that is the question, that the way government serving to these people, the way government using their knowledge, that's how our research and development capacity evolve.
Right, so you can't suddenly have a massive research and development capacity overnight. You have to sort of build it up over the years.
Yes.
And you need to get foreign collaboration as well, especially in the early years. So basically we need to know what types of minerals and other riches we have in the Sea of Sri Lanka, how much of it, is it commercially viable? Because having a little bit of anything is not good enough. It has to be worth the investment of mining it.
Yes.
And mining on the seabed is rather a complicated process. And how do we explore all this? So these are the questions which governments should ideally be looking at.
Yes.
However, the priorities haven't been there quite clearly from successive governments in Sri Lanka. So you are hoping that the new regime, possibly by the NPP, would focus on science and technology and especially the Sea of Sri Lanka.
Yes, because that was the basic thing when we make this science and technology research and development policy, because we have good sort of example from other countries how they use science and technology for their economic, social and the all sort of development within the country, how they use this science and technology. We have those examples. It is not a magic, as I said. Then when we make the policy, we made like short term, mid term and long term resources we have, aspects we can address through this policy. To any government who can elect, can use this policy if they need if they need to make this country develop. Because we have some research already there. We need to have do that development part, that implement part. And there are some mid-term or long-term things we can address shortly. First we can get those short-term aspects. That's how we made this policy. For the question you asked, that if government elected, if they can use this policy worthily, they can see that what are the resources there, what are the things we can implement shortly and make like one step forward, then work on other things. That's how we made this. That is one initiative we got through this policy.
Well, one thing that strikes me is that such decisions need to be taken on a scientific basis. Now, I think it was during the time of President Chandrika Kumaratunga's regime, it was announced that we had some oil on the seabed in the Mannar area of the northern coast. And of course, there was a lot of excitement, but it wasn't actually in commercially viable quantities. If it had been in commercially viable quantities, most of the oil companies in the world would come rushing to Sri Lanka. We don't see that. There have been a little bit of research has been done in the area. I think an Indian company, a Chinese company, and so on, but they haven't found sufficient stocks of oil. Yes. And it's a bit of a mirage. It's not realistic. So whatever we go looking for, it has to be commercially viable. Otherwise it's not worth it.
Yes.
Would you agree with that point of view?
Yes, definitely. That is one different I see with research going on Sri Lanka and other countries. If we see something, some resource, okay, we are doing research, but I don't know, it is like media hits. We have this, we can get this much from this resource, something, some news going around social media and everywhere. But if it is real research, we are doing research, we are getting findings, doing all the analysis and showing the outcome. Okay, this is the outcome. And if that has happened in this situation, people did some discoveries, some research over there, but still there is no any outcome of that.
Absolutely, and it's been, I think, more than 2 decades
yes.
now. So there's clearly not much oil of Mannar as far as I'm concerned. Now let's go to another interesting topic, which is the Climate Change University. Now you are also you were involved in the climate change and national disaster research team, the policy, the setting up of that policy by the NPP. And one aspect which this government, the present government, has been hyping quite a bit is the possibility of setting up a climate change university in Sri Lanka. Now this would be a first in the whole world, wouldn't it? There are no universities in the world dedicated to climate change. What do you think of this idea?
Yes, when I heard about that, I was like surprised, I have to say, bold, because that's why I said, as a government, any government need to have their vision on these science and technological things. What are our priorities? Because we are not a developed country with huge government resources, money. We are in collapsed economy. Then we need to prioritize the things. What government really need? What sort of things we are doing for the research. For this one, that climate change university, when I heard that, yes, climate changing is pressing topic. It is must addressed, I know. But we are a very small country. There are huge countries in the world. Do they have climate change university? Climate change is one sort of degree course or courses in university about climate change. But if you make a university for that, you need to have a vision. If you invest money on that, how we get that return of that investment.
Right. And in fact, I believe in the last budget there was a certain amount, a sum which was allocated, and I presume it is already being spent on consultancies and so on in the planning of this climate change university. So we are actually spending money, and hopefully it's not a waste of money.
That's what we have to be responsible.
Right. And when it comes to this, it's a matter of priorities, isn't it?
Yes, that is the word. Because government need to have a vision, government need to have a priority list. Because I will give you an example. I'm working in Australia. When COVID hits, I'm living in Queensland state. We have Queensland fellowships, it's called, some funding scheme. They said in these 2 years, we are funding only for research of finding cures for the COVID.
Right.
We keep others bit away in these 2 years.
So they
we are
prioritize
giving
that.
priority on this.
Right.
That's how, according to the situation, we have to see. That's why I said 3 things: short term, mid term, and long term. What are the priorities government can address? What are the research already there? What are the things we can implement quickly? What are the research need to be done? Something
right.
like that.
So it's not a matter of our national leaders, president, prime minister, cabinet ministers. It's not a matter of them going overseas and seeing something which looks nice and looks promising and coming back and saying, let's spend money, let's set up a department, a corporation, and let's go after this. There should be a set of priorities set according to a national agenda.
Yes.
Now, another thing is the practicality of it all. We spoke earlier about mining the seabed, and that it's not practical for Sri Lanka to try to do it alone right now.
Yes.
We don't have the resources and the expertise. But now a climate change university, again, the same issue. Do we have the expertise, the expertise, the faculty? Do we have qualified professors in this? I mean, we may have a few, I'm
yes,
sure,
yes.
but in sufficient number to set up a university?
I also have same question, because from our universities we currently have, now they may have a climate change as a course or degree courses or something like that. But I have to say, if you make a university, there need to be good staff on that. Experts on that particular subject area, some kind of things. I think the main problem is not that. We can find out experts from anywhere, but the problem is how you get a student from other countries to that university, because from our that after A levels who are going to university, the set of a student will go to that university. Is that enough to run that university? They definitely have to get international students. My problem is, most of the international universities, they have some degree courses related to climate change.
So why would they come here?
Yeah, there
so
need to be really special things to them to come to this university and study.
Right, and so this would seem to be a long-term project in your categories of
Yes.
short-term, mid-term and long-term. So this would be a long-term project, and the question is priorities. Can we afford such a project right now, or should it be deferred? So, and this is not just about the climate change university, it is in general about government policies and the practicality of them all. So I'm afraid that we are now running out of time. My thanks to Dr. Nadeeka Rathnayake, who represents the NPP, or the scientific community that is with the NPP at present. And thank you very much for being on the program, Dr. Nadeeka.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
And thank you very much to you at home for watching. Don't go away, the news is coming up next. Have a good evening.